Live from the planet Earth in the Milky Way. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live. What's happening, everybody? Dominic, what's happening in Brooklyn? Volt BMX in London, my man. How's the weather in London? Let me guess. Rainy. What's going on? Hey, John, how's things in Leeds in the UK? Shouting out all our UK people. Yeah. Oh, look, it's my favorite podcast. Is this a podcast? I think they're calling this now like a vidcast or something. I don't know if this is technically a podcast. Hey, Philip, how you doing? Well, thanks. Trying to make Wednesdays suck less. You know? Mark Tolsch, what's up, brother? Hope you're well. Up there in Canada. Hey, Lee, what do you say? Fabrizio, we got a great show today. This is going to be a blast. Going to be very cool. So, is it a talk show? So it's a vidcast talk show. So, yeah, we'll see. That said, you know, hope everybody's well out there. And I also want to thank everybody that supports the show and all the patrons. Oh, by the way, before I forget, we are for patrons, we are recording a show with Billy Graziadei from Biohazard for my patrons and for his patrons, where he's breaking down his new video that he just did and talking to us about his new record. So if you're a patron, you got Billy G to look forward to on Sunday. I'll put it up on Sunday because we have a Bowery Electric show, and so I will post that up on Sunday. Billy G talking about his latest project. What's up with this guy, huh?
What's up? What's going on?
What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Very exciting for this. Very psyched for this one today.
I know you're stoked, man. You're the one that was like, "Yo, this guy's book."
No, oh my God, yeah. I mean, as anybody, I mean, when you see this body of work, it's insane. It's just insane.
Hey, that's like a Groucho Marx. That's like a Groucho Marx. Hey, what a body of work she has.
Yeah, no, it really some incredible stuff, you know. And that being said, actually, I'm going to forego showing any photos today because I want this really to just be about him.
Yeah.
And just truly an inspiration. So,
hey, you know, we should. I saw this. We should head off. We should head off anybody that might be going up to the Life of Agony Dog Eat Dog Kings Never Die show at the Chance. Apparently, Mina and Veronica have tested positive for COVID, and they've canceled the rest of the shows. So just a heads up to anybody out there that doesn't know this.
Chance, the Warsaw. I mean, it's very sad. I wish them a speedy recovery. You know, we were lucky enough to catch them last week at the Debonair Music Hall. And,
they were great. You know,
hope everybody just gets by this stuff real as fast as possible. You know. Yeah. But you know,
listen, you know, especially if you're a singer in a band and you're like singing, and at the end of this, you know, at the end of this, you know, the front of the stage, and you know,
sticking the mic out, sharing the mic with people. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So LOA's canceled the rest of the shows. You know, bummer in your summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you know what caught my eye? The thing that you sent me.
Yes, this is always fun. This is always fun conversation
now, listen,
right here.
This is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction list. Is this who got in, or is this who's nominated?
No. From this list, they will choose 5.
Okay. Now, let me say this. Bashing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is pretty rote at this point. I mean, everybody does, you know, but hey, you know what? Why not? You know, let me open with this first salvo. You know, I used to go see Motorhead, and they would come out on stage, and Lummy would say, "We are Motorhead. We are rock and roll. Like we are the definition of rock and roll. This band's never been nominated, and here we are. Who's nominated? Dionne Warwick, Dolly Parton, Fela Kuti, Eminem. Like, and no disrespect to these artists, they're all great artists, but come on, man.
Well, it comes down to what is rock and roll. I mean,
we are Motorhead. We are rock and roll.
And some bands get in too soon. Like, I believe it has to be 25 years to the release of your first record. Some bands get in exactly on 25 years, and some bands like Howard, Dolly Parton, and Dionne Warwick, you'd think they would have been in already, but
her name is Rio, and she dances on the.
You know what?
I'm not mad at Duran Duran.
I was gonna say
Duran Duran could be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not mad at them. Pat Benatar, goddamn,
should definitely be in there.
Like Judas Priest. Come on, man. Well,
I mean, you
MC5?
think about it.
Come on, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let that fart out. MC5, abso-friggin-lutely. Yeah, Hoya, you know what's up.
I mean,
Hoya says MC5, Duran Duran, Judas Priest, Eurythmics. Those are Hoya from Madballs.
Yeah, I mean, what the New York Dolls, even.
Is Meatloaf not in there? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think he's in there yet.
Ray Hogan says Tribe Called Quest deserve it.
I'm going to predict of all
Ray
these
Hogan,
people.
You're up there in Canada. Stay out of it, bro. Stay out of it, dude.
I'm going to guess that they're definitely going to be in. Because they're definitely going to pick a hip-hop act. If not, I mean, Eminem is the biggest hip-hop artist of all time.
Yeah.
So most likely he'll get it.
And listen, I don't even want to get crazy now and be like, because if they gave me a couple of free votes, I'd be like, Bad Brains, Black Flag, Bad Brains, Black Flag. I don't want to say minor threat, I'm sorry, Ray. I got mixed up. He's like, Canada, Connecticut, same thing. What's the freaking difference?
Connecticut.
Canada. So yeah, all right. Well, whatever, man. I mean,
I think Rage belongs there, but I don't know if it's too soon for them. I mean, it's how do you judge these
Shrapnel?
things?
That's interesting. He should say Shrapnel because I'm opening a dialogue with Daniel Ray that was who was in the Jersey band Shrapnel to get him on the show.
Daniel would be a good guest, actually.
Oh, that's a good one. Dionne Warwick psychic predicts she'll win. That's pretty funny.
That's right. Psychic friends.
So we don't have a show on
Sunday.
Instead, we got this going on. Free at the Bowery Electric, all ages. You know what? I do got to mention though about this. I got a call from the club, and they don't want babies and toddlers in the bar anymore. Okay, so I know things have been pretty wide open and pretty wild. People bring their babies to these shows and their toddlers, but I got the call. The bar doesn't want the liability. No babies or toddlers at the hardcore show.
I promise not to bring a baby to the show. What if I find one at the show, though?
Listen, bro. Then you know what? We do what the Egyptians did. We put it in the fucking
in the basket.
In a basket. Send it down
the Nile River.
Down the friggin' river, bro. Down the East River. So don't be dropping your babies off. Don't be dropping your babies off at the hardcore show. Or I'm freaking chucking them in the East River. Yep.
So we got to shout out Silence Equals Death on this one.
Yeah. So Murderers Row dropped off the bill. Apparently, another COVID situation, and Silence Equals Death came right in.
Can't beat that. That's a great.
Hey, Dominic. Dominic says he's gonna bring my baby. He's 18, but always my boy. Hey, bro, don't get it mixed up, bro. I'll chuck your kid 18 years old. I'll chuck your kid right in the river, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'll chuck his ass right in the cold river.
You're like the pharaoh after all the firstborn.
Yeah, I'm like the angry pharaoh. Like, I don't want anybody to have any fun.
You got the Yul Brynner look going, so
Yeah. Yep.
Ramses.
Yeah. Real quick before we're going to bring our guest on in a bit, let's talk about some of the shows we have coming up on this Fakakta thing. Yo, coming up Wednesday, excuse me, a week from today, another legendary photographer, Mr. Ed Culver, will be on the show. Sunday, February 13th, Queen of Metal, Miss Doro Pesch, represent. Sunday, February 20th, thank God we're getting back into some hardcore with Mike Granari. And then this show just got moved up. We switched a couple dates around. Actually, what happened is that the Castle Heights reunion show got pushed back because they're doing something. They wanted to coincide with an event they're doing. That just got postponed until May. This Gallery East thing moved up to Sunday, February 27th with Dwayne Lucia. It's going to be great. Yeah, we have great lineup of shows. Thanks. We try, So all that's
exciting.
Yeah, all that's coming up. And one quick thing. I know we're going to get into this with our guest today, but I just want to touch on it real quick with you, and that's our friend and great supporter of the show. He loves the show.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Z passed away, and it was really great having him on, man. It was a real.
It was to me. It was like an incredible honor. Like I was talking to him as like my 13-year-old self. The guy that changed. Like there was a time where you saw his name on the back of the record, you knew what you were getting, and he literally, between him and our friend Michael Alago, they freaking the whole landscape changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Really sad one, and I mean we only just recently lost Marsha, so it really is an incredible thing, and that's someone that should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, let's be frank. The guy basically, discovered Metallica.
Yeah.
And
poured his life savings into getting them to New York and
Anthrax.
Yeah. I mean, he just, and you know what? He was, and right down to the end, he was still into it, going to shows. And the last time I saw him at a show was at a Goat Horse show.
Yep.
And
he was great, man. He was a supporter of this show. Good dude.
He really enjoyed it. You could tell he was having fun with us too.
Well, it was interesting because he was one of these guys that's like, how long am I going to be on? And I don't do these things. And he came on and we couldn't get him off, man.
Yeah.
He was
great.
He was really, really great. So, all right. Well, listen, maybe I'll bring you on,
I'll be back at the end. I'm going to get a front row seat for this one. So,
all right. I'll talk to you in a bit. All right. Take care. Well, there you have it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and New York Hardcore Comics opened in 2013, selling comic books, punk rock and hardcore memorabilia, toys, statues, skateboard decks, tapes, vinyl, and all things horror. We love helping bands push their demos and new tracks, so please stop by and drop off your new music, even if you friggin' suck. We have in-store events like Magic the Gathering and Warhammer tournaments, plus meet and greets with bands and some live performances. Open 7 days a week and shipping worldwide. Find us online through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and eBay. Located at 117 Main Street in lovely Dobbs Ferry, New York. www.newyorkhardcorecomics.com. Come on now. Chacho's Tacos. Damn, I wish I had a Chacho's Taco to eat after this show tonight, I'm sick of eating the same crap. I'm like, I eat the same crap over and over again, man. Help me. Please help me. How about Chacho's Tacos, located in Corpus Christi, Texas? Chacho's Tacos opened their doors in the year of our Lord 2001. Home of the almighty Chacho's Taco. That's what I want. I want an almighty Chacho's Taco. They cook up an incredible home-style Tex-Mex food, and this month they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. They've been supporting underground music since the beginning, and in their own words, we ain't stopping anytime soon. Touring bands that play Corpus Christi, swing by and get a home-cooked meal at Chacho's Tacos. We got you. The underground scene will never die. Please follow us on Facebook or on Instagram. That said, how about one more? You pick one. Pick one, anyone. How about, we got a new sponsor today. We're going to introduce you to a new sponsor. All right? We'll do that a little bit later on. How about Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, located in Lakewood, Colorado, is the Rocky Mountain headquarters for all things punk, hardcore, and metal. Established in 2014, they have the largest selection of records, CDs, shirts, stickers, patches, and accessories between Chicago and Los Angeles. Goddamn electric. From the pit to the ditch, they got your back. Get in touch with them at www.chainreactionrecords.com. That said, let's clear the deck. Let's bring our guest on. Make sure everybody's behaving. Yep. Is that right? You just had Russ and Daughters? I know that's... Now we're talking, Eddie Medina. Come on now. Got you right. Yep. Got some Jewish soul food going, huh? All right. We're not mad at you. Come on now. All right, let's clear the deck. Let's bring our guest on. Here we go. Yo. Boom. All right. Today's guest is an American rock photographer hailing from the Garden State of New Jersey. His widely recognized photographs capture the look and aesthetic of music and celebrity personalities of the 80s. Here to talk about his incredibly proficient career and his celebrated book, The Decade That Rocked, please welcome Mr. Mark Weissguy Weiss. Brother!
Hey, Drew, how you doing, brother?
Good to see you, man. How are you?
You too. I enjoyed your intro there. A lot of good stuff talking about, spreading the word on some new bands and some classics. I saw someone that mentioned Shrapnel.
Yeah.
And as
you're a Jersey guy.
Yeah, Dave. I used to actually share a house with my friend Danny Sanchez at Dave's his parents' house.
Is that right?
We rented it out like back in the 80s,
Were you guys downstairs?
No, it was a split house. So he had one side, we had the other. And then I remember him telling me we were at the Tradewinds Beach Club, and we both were swimmers, So he's like, "Yeah, I got this band called Monster Magnet," and he actually gave me a cassette, and I listened to it. I was like, "Wow, that's pretty good," And but I shot him in '79. I actually just sent you a photo back from Access, Kansas City.
Is that right? Wait, I want to see this, man.
Yeah, I just emailed it to you.
So I'm tight with Phil Caivano. He's been on the show.
Yeah,
he's a red. What a great photo you just sent me. Hold on, we got to take a peek at this, man. This is friggin' great. Wow.
Yeah, one of my early shots.
What a beaut, man. Hold on, here we go. So this is Shrapnel 1979 at Max's.
Yeah.
Look at that. That is awesome. And there's Dave. There's Dave. Yeah. And there's Daniel Rabinowitz, right? Another one of our Jewish brothers. There's Phil Caivano next to him. And I'm not sure the guys on the left and the right exactly who they are, what their names are. But that was Shrapnel, which was sort of like Jersey's answer to the Ramones, right?
Definitely, absolutely. Yeah, very influenced.
Yeah.
It didn't really sound like the Ramones. They had their own sound, but same roots.
Yep. Let's just fly right into it. Did you grow up how did you get exposed to hold on, where's my notes? Did you grow up in how did you get exposed to the arts? I'm sorry, here it is. Did you grow up in an artistic household? And how did photography come into your life and music for that matter?
Right. Well, it's tied in. Like my brother, Jay, he was in a garage band, just playing covers like, Iron Butterfly and, Led Zeppelin and all that. So I used to, I was a couple years younger than him. So I was like, maybe 11, 12 years old when he had a band across the street. So that was really my first exposure. And then he also had the magazine subscriptions to like Circus and Cream magazine. So I would always like, whenever they came in the mail, I would like, grab them and hide them in my room, and he'd be like, where you see my Roxy magazine or my Circus, and I would like have it in my room, and then I would, so that was my real true beginnings of music and rock and roll.
And here's is this a selfie from back in the day?
That was my first selfie that was taken with my first camera. This is right here.
No way.
This camera is the Bell & Howell Canon camera. I was mowing lawns for $5 a lawn, and I knocked on this guy's door, and I said, you need your lawn mowed, and he goes, no, and I said, well, it looks like it. It was like really long, and he's like, I do it myself. I'm like, it doesn't look like it. You do. So he smirked and he said, I tell you what, kid, if you mow my lawn for the season, I'll give you this Bell & Howell Canon camera right here.
No shit.
And then I just became taking pictures of my brother and my dog and him riding motorcycles, and got excited by the whole process. And,
was it something that was it literally like that's how you fell into it, or did you have an interest and a passion for it? Was that just one of those sort of forks in the road in life that just
it was just a fork, like
that is awesome.
It's like, I was planning on just hawking it for a couple $100, but they wouldn't even give me $50 for it. So I held on to it.
Mm-hmm. And how old were you here?
I was 12.
You were 12. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You sent me this this statement from your bar mitzvah. And
I think in my book. Yeah.
It's really heavy, man. Your father was ill and you had an accident?
I had a motorcycle accident. I had a head-on collision with my friend Glenn and was unconscious, and I was a mess, and
wow. At 13?
I was 12, yeah. Just turning 13. And my father just had a heart attack, so it wasn't a good summer, but that's when this camera came to me, like right before all this happened. So it kind of like when I was sick and and recovering, this camera was on like my bookshelf, and I kept looking at it, and then once I got better, I was like, oh, let me explore this. And then I started getting into, developing film. My grammar school, my middle school had a dark room.
Right.
So I introduced myself to the photography teacher, and he kind of took me under his belt, taught me how to develop film. Once I walked in that dark room, it's like anyone out there that doesn't know. I mean, first of all, there's for the really young generations that before digital, there was film, and you put film in the camera. Like these actually open up. Let's see if this even opens. Yeah, it opens up, and you put film in there, and you get 36 exposures, and then you take it out, you put it in some different chemicals, develop it, and then you make prints. So this teacher showed me how it was done, and I was like blown away going through that cylinder door. You like actually go in this door that looks like a time capsule, and it spins around. You go in.
Yep.
And there's all these red lights, and it just really amazed me. It was like magic.
I mean that was a whole transformative process going into the dark room, and there was a certain art to just developing pictures because you could screw it up and mess things up. I mean, that I don't want to say it's a lost art, but that was such a big labor-intensive part of being a photographer back then that, of course, is sort of lost in the shifting sands of time these days.
Yeah, I mean, it used to suck because you had to put this film in this canister just right, and if you overlapped it in the negative, you would screw up a few frames. And I've done that. Like I've done it when I went to Zeppelin, and I shot a couple rolls of film, and like 4 frames were like messed up. Sometimes a whole roll. Right. And that's one of the frustrating things on it. But you get better in time, and you perfect it, and that doesn't happen. But that was, it was very nerve-wracking. Film is very nerve-wracking because you don't see it right away, and you hope you got it, and you only have 36 chances on one roll. And that's why eventually I shot with 2 cameras and then 3 cameras, so you can keep switching. I just want to,
I see.
I just wanted to go take as many photos of these iconic bands as I could, and with digital these days, you couldn't really, I mean, you could just do thousands of photos, where back then you have to really pick and choose, like you were like, like a hunter, like, grabbing that shot.
Yeah, I can relate. It's like when we did all the music videos in the golden age of music videos. You'd spend a whole day shooting. You'd have a stack of 16 millimeter film, and they would go to the lab, and you would just hope for the best, man. I hope there wasn't a hair in the gate, or something, and which happened. I grew up around the film business. There were times, and back then, if there was a hair in the gate, it wasn't like you could Photoshop it out. You were screwed.
I know.
It was horrible. So you started going to concerts and taking photographs at concerts, sort of under the radar, and selling them. Tell us about how you first sort of got into the. Yeah.
Well, the first concert I went to, one of my first concerts was Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young at Roosevelt Stadium.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like my
brother
Jersey
City.
Yeah, Jersey City. Yeah, my brother took me. It was just an awesome experience. It was like, 50,000 strong, and, there was weed in the air, and this community, this sense of community. Mm-hmm. And that night was actually when Nixon resigned, and David Crosby made an announcement at the middle of the show that he resigned. So that was kind of like an historic moment for my first concert.
Wow.
And that's one thing I remember. But then after that, I started going to other shows. Like I used to tag along with my brother. So there was like Sly and the Family Stone was played at Raceway Park. And
wow.
And then me and my buddy went to see Elton John at Madison Square Garden. It's like on Thanksgiving Eve. And that was the night that actually John Lennon showed up at the end. And unfortunately, and that was the first time I stuck my camera in. So I start my book out with that little photo, because I was all the way in the nosebleeds. But but it was important that I really show what my first actual photo was. And then
that's awesome.
And then shortly after that was the Eric Clapton show, and I got a little bit closer. And obviously, I started learning that I had to get close, how to get a good spot, and that was important. And then it was just for a couple of years, it was just sneaking into concerts, because I used to sneak in and get real close and take pictures, and then sell them out of my high school locker and in front of the concerts the next day. So,
and then this shot, which I can relate to in a big way, is I know this is a little bit later on, but I guess, and this is the Rock and Roll Flea Market at the Pennsylvania Hotel, which was right across the street from the Garden.
Right. Yeah. So
I know it well. I probably went to this.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, they had all the I guess booksellers or book people that had books, rock and roll books or albums, T-shirts. There was a handful of us photographers. So me and my buddy Pat went there and grabbed all the shots that I've been selling, the previous year or two, and made a few bucks, and just fun time. It's the community, and that's what really turned me on.
And I see, just looking at this stuff, I could and knowing, we grew up, geographically very close to each other. That looks like Led Zeppelin at the Garden, 1977.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And that looks like Frampton. Is that Frampton at the Garden?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. I see Meatloaf. Is that Stones 78?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that at the Palladium?
No, that was JFK Stadium.
Oh, wow. That was a weird tour, because they did stadiums and then little indoor places. They went like on that 78 tour. And do I see Jerry Garcia up there? That looks like 76. What is that, the Capitol Theater?
No, that was 78. That was 78. Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man. And tell us about the history with this photo right here. This guy, and give us about the history of this photo.
Well, yeah, that was one of my early shots. That was 77, and that's when I was, selling my pictures. And unfortunately, or I should say, fortunately, I got picked up by the police that night for selling my pictures. And I knew
in front of the Garden.
In front of the Garden, yeah. I mean,
wow.
I knew, you ran when the cops came, because you weren't supposed to be doing it.
Sure.
But it was fun, and I made a few bucks to buy some more film or camera equipment. Mm-hmm. And I got arrested, went to jail overnight, and I said, what am I going to do now? And I picked up my brother's Circus magazine and looked at the address, and it said New York City, and I just went there and got an appointment with the art director. I just walked in, and the secretary took a liking to me and said, hang in there, hang a few hours, and I'll get you in to see the art director. And they liked my stuff, and they said, but do this and do that, different kind of film. And I did, and I came back over the summer, maybe 7 months later, and I had really good Aerosmith and Ted Nugent photos. And they needed Aerosmith photos, and that was at Giant Stadium. And I dropped them off, and a couple months later, it was a centerfold in Circus, and was my my first photograph in the magazine.
I see you got the Aerosmith shirt on in this shot
right
here.
right
And, right.
Yeah, so there's my camera, and that's when I used to work at the Haunted Mansion in Long Branch, scaring people. So
I see.
So that's what I was doing there.
I wasn't sure Haunted Mansion. I wasn't sure what the reference was. I get it now.
Yeah,
it was a season. It was a seasonal job.
Yeah, it was a summer job in between, bootlegging photos.
Yeah, right. You were hired as the staff photographer at Circus Magazine after that?
Yeah, shortly after that came in, it was in the magazine. They started using a lot of my Aerosmith, Ted Nugent photographs. Then Van Halen came along, and they said, do you want to shoot Van Halen down in Convention Hall at Asbury Park? And I said, yeah. So that was wasn't my first assignment, but one of my first that I really remember as being like, wow, this is really cool. So I went there early. I told the band, I bought the Circus magazine with a centerfold, and I went backstage, and Eddie was back there, and Michael, and I introduced myself. I said, I'm working for Circus, and here's my pictures. And they just kind of like smiled and said, do you want a drink? And they gave me a beer. And then I asked Eddie, I said, Eddie, can I take a photo of you? And he was just hanging out back there having a beer and a cigarette, and he didn't say anything. He just smiled. So I took that as a yes. And that's where there's one photo in the book of him just hanging out. That was my first photo I ever shot of Eddie.
And that was 79 down in Convention
79,
Center?
yeah.
That was, I think, wasn't that Women and Children First tour?
It was the second album too. They were just doing it. They weren't doing arenas yet. They were doing theaters.
I see. And in your book, there's every year you have a collage to coincide with the year. Now, here's the collage from 1981, and and all the stuff in these collages is all your stuff and all your ephemera, right? That you've kept through the years. Yeah. Van Halen comes up a lot. You shot Van Halen a lot, and you shot them really, in my opinion, and really in their heyday, man. What was just being around that circus? That must have been something else back then.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really, really fun. I mean, it was everything you read about, and I was in my, just 2021, just meeting them, doing the shows. And then they eventually hired me for some shows and did some work with them. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was great shows. It was definitely a rock and roll circus.
Yes, Thor. That's right. I see Thor came up a couple of times. I worked with him. He worked on one of my father's commercials once, and I got a couple of pictures with him. But yeah, he's a interesting character, man.
Absolutely.
Let me find the 19. I want to see the 1980 collage just real quick. This caught my eye. Here's the 1980 collage, which is great. I caught my eye on here. Caught my eye on here? The Neon Leon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was actually my first single sleeve I ever did. That was for the Rock and Roll Was Alive in New York City that WPLJ used. And they were my first. They were kind of like my first guinea pigs because they were such great subjects. Neon and Honey O'Rourke.
Yeah,
you couldn't ask for better subjects, and they were so nice and cool, and they were just on the almost made it to that next level, but unfortunately they didn't get there.
I think Leon's living in Switzerland now. He's been there for years. But that's a great single. I think Jagger sings on that, does backgrounds on that. But yeah, rock and roll is alive in New York City.
Yeah.
And the other thing that caught my eye was up top there, the white tiger poking through there, which was, I think that Mark St. John who ended up in Kiss.
No, actually, that's a different white tiger. Yeah.
Different white tiger.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But they were a big tri-city or tri-state cover band. They played Zeppelin, Aerosmith, AC/DC, and them and Twisted Sister were selling out 3,000 seat clubs in the area, making a fortune.
Yeah, unbelievable. I moderated a book event for JJ French recently, and we talked about that incredible circuit that existed back then, where they could go out and play 4 or 5 times a week. The Fountain Casino and Hammerheads, and this incredible live music circuit that existed in the tri-state area back then. Really good shit. Let me think. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced early on when you were kind of getting your footing underneath you? What
challenges?
Yeah, like
I don't know. I was very adventurous. I mean, the challenges of I guess wanting to be everywhere. Trying to be everywhere, doing everything, shooting the whole show was a challenge in the very beginning because, you want to be there shooting the whole show. So I always got in good with the artists right away. So they give me access. But that, sometimes it's more challenging than others. But once you get in there, the reward is amazing.
Makes sense. I want to find my the US Festival. This was 82, and this was a big day. Were you out there covering this for Circus?
Oh, 83 actually.
83.
Yeah,
you're right. 83.
Yeah. Well, no, I was there with Ozzy. Right. I started work with Ozzy in 81, and wherever he went, I would get the access. And so, Sharon told me, you want to come out to the US Festival? I said, sure. And what's funny is they sent me, we're supposed to do a photo shoot at my studio in New York about a month before the US Festival. And they sent me this big wooden crate. And you can, if you look in the chapter openers, if you put that up for 1983, there was this big box, and Ozzy didn't show up for the photo shoot. And she's like, we're not going to be coming by. Something came up, but can you ship it to the West Coast? So before I shipped it out, I opened it up. And there was that outfit that he wore. And there's me under the 1983 wearing it. The dress. So that's what he wore. Yes. He wore that on stage. So I stripped down to nothing and I put that on. And it's been in the closet ever until this book came out. So Sharon didn't even know I did this, and I packed it up and then I shipped it out to him. And then for the first 30 seconds of Ozzy's performance, he has that mask on, and he rips it off pretty quick. But
how did you fall in with Ozzy?
Well, Circus Magazine. I just started doing covers. I did a Ritchie Blackmore cover, and then they said, "You want to do an Ozzy Osbourne cover?" I'm like, hell yeah. And they said, well, we have this theme that we're doing most athletic high school, like most athletic high school yearbook kind of thing. So I said, I'm going to bring some boxing gloves and, have some fun with it. And he came out with this pink tutu, and I said, oh, this is great. Then we got the boots on, and it was only supposed to be a small black and white photograph. And it ended up being the cover, which it wasn't supposed to be. And then we got all this attention, this publicity, and that's how we first met. And we became like pretty close right from there. And we got a lot of publicity out of it. And we done a lot of covers. And
you did you
worked with them. And
you did a lot of work with Ozzy, man. All that stuff, I love this. I'm just gonna pop up a couple of things,
Sure.
and you know, it must have been great and somewhat surreal to eventually work with Kiss, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I get arrested at Madison Square Garden, and then like 5-6 years later, they're coming to my studio when they took the makeup off, a block from where I got arrested, and I'm shooting their photographs that they used for publicity. So yeah, it was pretty full circle right there. And then I became their photographer for that whole, and I still work with them. I did a tour book on their last tour, and It was awesome.
And this is in '96. They put the makeup back on, right?
Yep. So I shot. So when Ace broke, when they got him out of the band, he went solo, and I started working with him for his solo albums on Megaforce.
Yep.
And then in '96, it's like the dream comes true. Shooting Kiss with makeup with the original members.
Yeah. Yeah, Ace. We love Ace. Talk about Megaforce. Johnny Z passed away recently. Any recollections, any connection, memories with Johnny Z?
Yeah, he lived in Lake Ridge West. I lived in Lake Ridge, and I had friends that lived in Lake Ridge West back in the we're talking like early '70s. Sure. And someone introduced me to him back then, and always seen him around. And then when he became an active in managing bands and eventually had his record label, he hired me for like the Ace one, and he also hired me for the I'm the Man album cover. He introduced me to Anthrax, and he's just always been a really nice guy. He even recently, the last year, and when the book came out, I sent him a copy of the book, and he just he gave me so many compliments. He's just kind of like an older brother figure, and just anyone that knows him knows the kind of guy he is, and just really really sad to hear that he's not with us anymore.
Yeah, here's a shot that you took of him and Marcia, really in their glory. This was really when they were popping in 1988. And incredible success that he had. Of course, bringing Metallica over to the East Coast and putting their first and second record out, and then putting the Anthrax stuff out. Let me put up a picture of one of the Anthrax shots that you took. Here it is, right? The cover of I'm the Man.
Oh, yes.
This one, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Good stuff. Let me see. I got another one too. A lot of photos today, man. This is a cool shot of you and.
Oh, so Charlie. So the story about that cover is, Charlie came in a little earlier than the rest of the band, and he started drawing all this graffiti because it was the idea that they had. And so he did that, and then we did this at the end of the shoot. They kind of drew some stick figures.
I like this. This great. We just had Charlie on the show. I love this post that Charlie made about, and he says, did I ever tell you about the time Ace Frehley showed up to our video? We were shooting our Indians video, and he magically appeared. Mark Weiss captured the moment, and we went back to performing. What a great day it was. So many fans showed up. I love the look on Charlie's face in this shot, man. It is just.
I know.
It is. You've arrived, brother.
I know. It's awesome. I love that photo. He just posted that up there. So, it's like it was his dream come true, and there it was. And that's what photographers are supposed to be, there at the right moment. And I was fortunate enough to put myself in those situations and continued for that. Like, that's all I did. I just, lived and breathed it.
I like, here's Well, Scott says when we first started working with Mark in the 80s, he was already Mark Weiss. So for us kids, it was almost like a validation. Wow, Mark Weiss is working with us. That actually meant something. He was just a huge part of that era and really captured a time and a place for the world to see. The work he did is so iconic and so great that everybody still wants a piece of him. Nice words. Nice
Thanks,
words,
Scott.
Scott. Yeah, that's not nice. Nice words. Nice words from Scott. Here's a band that I love this band a lot, man, and they had a huge influence on me when they came out, and that would be Guns N' Roses. And I love the shot. Is there any background? Is this when they played next door to CB's? Is that what this is?
Yeah, I did a photo shoot at my studio on 33rd by the Empire State Building. And then after that, they told me that they were doing this CBGB's book, the signing, and
right.
kind of like a little meet and greet. And then they were going to do an acoustic, so they invited me to come and hang out and do what I do. So I did that, and then while we're waiting around and hanging out, I grabbed them to go outside, took the opportunity, and that's where I got this photo of the band. And the band kind of dispersed, and Slash was still hanging around, and I said, "Hey." Let's go out here. And we went and walked in the middle of the street. It was like a little island.
Right on the Bowery. It's still there. The island is right. It's right on the Bowery. Yeah.
And, captured that.
Yeah. I love this photo. There's just something about it. It says so much to me. I love this shot, man. This shot here. I freaking love this shot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There.
Oh wow.
Hello? This isn't the same phone, but I mean,
right.
When I saw this at a flea market, I had to grab it because it's history. That's what makes photographs so meaningful. Is like whenever you see something that's not here anymore. If you see a telephone. You see a cassette player, a boombox, things that aren't in today's culture. It just ups it a little bit more. And I always look for pictures that I've shot back in the day that has those things in it.
Yeah, I guess our friend Dominic says that photo was in Metal Edge magazine.
Yeah, it was in a lot of magazines.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love it. And Steven says the brick. That's it. That's it.
The brick.
Let me use your brick. You know.
Yeah. And he actually he goes, "Hey Mark, you want to make a phone call?" That was the first time I used a cell phone. Yeah. It was on accident.
Was this LA?
Yeah, that's right by the Sunset Grill.
Yeah. Okay.
So the plan was to do a group photo. I shot them a couple times already, and this was in '88. And every time I came to LA, I'd call the publicist up and Brian Breidenthal. I said, who's around? And he goes, well, Guns are back, but they're not really doing anything. And I said, well, can you reach out, let them know that I'm in town. I'd like to, see if they do some kind of real casual photograph.
Sure.
So they agreed, and then we're going to meet at the Sunset Grill. And everyone showed up except Axl. And so I did individuals of everybody. And then Axl I did the next day. So I got them all there, but that's why I don't have any band photographs.
I mean, you work with Van Halen, you work with Guns N' Roses. I mean, these are legendary, kind of party, bands. I mean, when you're in the middle of it, working with these guys, does it feel like it's coming apart at the seams? I mean, was there a sense of unity with Guns N' Roses, or was it just does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you just figured, they listen, as long as they get on stage together when they're supposed to. And unfortunately, they didn't a lot, but that was just one of the things that they had going against them. But it's a rock band, and there's always the tension of things. I'm there, so I hear everything, and
I guess that's what I was sort of getting to. That you were there, you heard all the. All that.
Well,
shit.
it's like it's like them being in like 4 relationships. Imagine having 4 girlfriends, you know,
Right.
at the same time, like in the same room, and you have to like deal with all these personalities to make it happen. So they were bandmates, and you know, they're brothers, but brothers always, you know, you can't always get along, and they always have the eye in the picture, and that's what makes a successful band. And all these bands, you know, from Van Halen to Motley to Guns N' Roses. I mean, any band, everyone has conflicts, and for them to sell millions of records is quite an accomplishment. You know, to tour the world, to go into a city, it's like a privilege that no one could imagine doing. And to reach that status is pretty amazing accomplishment. And I always respect them for that, and whatever comes along with it, that comes along with it. And you know, talking about them 40 years later, 30 years later is again, it's a test of time.
In retro, I mean, I hear what you're saying 100%. I mean, just the level of commitment and what it really takes to make a train like that go down the tracks day after day is pretty unbelievable. In retrospect, all these years later, any of these bands, just looking back, how do I say this? Like, when you were there, it felt like an incredible ride. Looking back, you still like that was absolutely an incredible ride. Any of these bands sort of really stand out all these years later is like, wow, that was really an incredible time.
It really does seem like yesterday, and you know, I didn't think that it would stop so abruptly as it did. You know, I just thought it would just keep going on and on and on. Like, who could stop this machine? You know,
right.
You do a record, you do a video, and you go on tour, and you sell 1 million records. Like, it seemed like every band that I did an album cover for went gold or platinum, and it didn't seem like it was gonna end so abruptly. So it was when you're in that moment, and I'm sure it's the same today, and it's a lot more short-lived, the success of artists, because everything is such a you know, throw it up and move on to the next one. So really, those bands from the 80s, whether it's pop, rock, metal, whatever it is, that decade had the resources to remain successful even 30, 40 years later, because they had MTV and everything was, you know, the radio stations were all like connected, and you know, you had a song that everyone knew about it. Now it's like it's up to the fans really to discover your bands and then market it. And back then it was up to the machine, the record companies, and you know. So
yeah, we've talked about that you know, people sort of there was an infrastructure back then. There was a system. You know, it doesn't really exist anymore, but that was almost the heyday of that system of you do the record, you do the video, you know, that whole bit. There was quite an infrastructure. This is this Stephen Piercy and a svelte Vince Neil?
Yeah, that's Vince and Steven. So yeah, whenever I did a photo shoot, I would always like, I don't know who the photo shoot was. I think it might have been with Steven or with Vince, I think. And I said, hey, Steven, I'm here shooting Vince. You want to come by and get in a few snaps and say hi? So he said, sure. So, you know, whenever I can get a couple guys together, I always did.
I saw this tour here in New York, a couple blocks from where I live at the Beacon Theater. It was Crew and Rat. And it was great. Crew was really great. It was, you know, that it was the Shout at the Devil tour, and they had Rat opening, and me and my younger brother were like 6th row center, and Crew was great. I gotta say that we always remember that they crushed it, man. They were great. Let me take a break, shout out some sponsors. And we'll come back and we'll continue. Let's talk about suicidal tendencies and Zakk Wylde and about the book. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
All right.
Well, there you have it. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and our guest today is photographer Mark Weiss, the decade that rocked. We are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, Chain Reaction Records, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, Generation Records, and the Texas Silver Rush. It's a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rollet, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. During this current pandemic, all information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Come on now, DTFM Vinyl Distro. It's a record store that specializes in underground music, punk, ska, hardcore metal, and more. Located in the heart of Fargo, North Dakota's industrial district. Shop in person or online at www.dtfmvinyldistro.com, where the motto is death to false metal. Hey, I want to introduce to you our new sponsor. Come on now. Our new sponsor is 126 Hardcore Clothing. That is right. 126 Hardcore Clothing is a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. They are not an elitist brand aiming to target only the core audiences of punk, hardcore culture itself, but strive to be an open-minded collective. Get in touch with them and ramp up your game, suckers. Ramp up your game. www.126clothing.com. Can you imagine? We got a new sponsor. Go figure. There's room for one more, right? While we're on the Anthrax tip. They are located in Greece, and hold on. Let me get this straight. I don't want to mess this up, you know. Our friend George, he's going to come on the show. The company is in Thessaloniki, Greece. The product is Greek. I am based in Berlin. In order to be near my tour business, he's a tour manager. Main does merch for bands, but everything happens in Thessaloniki, Greece. Cortex has been selling the product since 2013. Let us welcome our new friends, 126 Clothing. So there you go. That said, well, listen, there's sponsors that want to sponsor the show, but we have these sponsors that we've been with since the beginning, and they still want to be a part of it. And, you know, I just don't want the thing to turn into like 300 sponsors. I mean, you know, well, thank you, Stelios. Amazing live today. Photos. Good. Glad you. Oh, you know what I got to mention? For those that are coming to the show on Sunday here in New York City, yes, you asked for it, you got it. The Agnostic Front puzzle will be available at the show on Sunday. Generation Records will be there, and they will be selling it. It's $25. It's the limited edition Victim in Pain 500-piece puzzle, Agnostic Front, available this Sunday at the Bowery Electric. Cop and go, as we used to say in the Lower East Side. Cop and go. That said, want to mention a couple of shows. Here's a show that was just announced. This is coming up on Wednesday, March 2nd. Creature from Rebelmatic will be on the show. I don't know about you. I love Rebelmatic. They're one of my favorite bands out there. Creature's coming on. Looking forward to this. I'm going to mix it up. This is going to be great. So we got Creature coming on. And then one last one. We got Riggs Ross coming on, who is playing drums at Sub-Zero, who will be at the Bowery Electric on Sunday. Riggs Ross is coming up Sunday, March 27th. If you're in New York City, come down and support the show this Sunday. It's important. It's important that you support the show on Sunday. It's important that you support this show. If you're wondering how to do that, here is the Patreon page, and there's a PayPal page. Your support is what makes this show happen. We know that. It's like a broken record. You know, I want to shout out a couple of my new patrons, Paul Bayford, Victoria Lynn, Raymond Hogan, Mick Lambro, and Gabrielle Nodet. Also, Patreon-only show going up this Sunday with Billy G from Biohazard. And also, if you are a patron, you get this book for free if you don't know that already. If you don't have this book, there are a couple of them left. You can get them at www.stonefilmsnyc.com. $24.95, numbered and signed by me. It is volume 1, 1980 to 1989. I also want to mention that we are doing the next chapter of this book, volume 2, 1990 to 1999. It is a flyer oral history. If you would like to contribute and you have flyers, New York hardcore flyers from the 5 boroughs from 1990 to 1999, please reach out. We would love to have you be a part of the book. I don't know. First, it's going to go up on Patreon. Eventually, it'll go up. The Billy G thing will go up eventually. What else do I need to mention? The flyer book. There's a couple T-shirts left if you're a patron. If you're a small or a medium, reach out. Barry Electric Shows, Agnostic Front Puzzle. There's a super chat. If you have a burning desire question for our guest, Mark Weiss, do a super chat. Couple bucks, support the show. It's in color. You go right to the front of the line. If you're watching the show on rerun, please subscribe. There's a subscribe button right about there. Subscribe to the show. You'll get alert when the next show's coming up. And there's a merch line underneath there. So yeah, that's what's going on. Christian, hey Drew, great show. It's 4 a.m. in Jakarta, Indonesia. Well, right on, brother. It's 4 p.m. here in New York City, man. So, yeah, Chucky, you got flyers. Get them to me, man. You know? Make it happen, brother. Okay, that said, let's clear the deck. Let's bring our guest back on. Let's get rid of this, get rid of that. Let's bring on Mr. Mark Weissguy Weiss. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Just doing it, man. You know? Let's poke around a little bit, and let's cater to the fan base here. Let's talk about this bit a little bit. You worked with Slayer, and this DVD is a pretty crushing DVD. Can you tell us about working with them?
Yeah, that was they had me go into that show, and after the show was over, they just wanted me to shoot what actually happens at a Slayer show. And I might have added a couple little things here and there and repositioned some things artistically, but it was a awesome show, and it's a great album, and really honored to shoot them. I mean, I shot them when they really first came out, when Kerry was wearing those porcupine wrists.
Yeah, the spikes.
Yeah, so
here's the page from the book. Did they really trash the Warfield?
Well, every picture tells a story, don't it?
Yeah, that's like a Grateful Dead venue. I just can't picture Slayer like trashing that place. But yeah, here you go. That's Slayer on the bottom left.
Yeah, that was probably maybe a year or two after that.
And who's that on top? Is that Overkill? No.
Yeah, that's Overkill.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Right
DD on the left in the shirt, and then Blitz is second from the left. And
that's early Slayer, because that's Lombardo in a young Lombardo.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. That's probably 88, I think.
Right. And they used to play. I remember they played Birch Hill. Remember Birch Hill out there?
Yeah, that's where I learned how to swim, actually.
Oh, right, because it's like a
It's a swim club.
I don't call it a country club, but it was interesting.
It was called Birch Hill Swim Club.
It's an interesting place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had some shows there, man. Whew. Want to ask you about this. This is in the book, and I looked it up a little bit. Really interesting story here about your wedding, and this picture on the left. Tell us about this a little bit.
I got married.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it happens to the best of us, bro. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rock and roll wedding. I met Sebastian maybe a few months before that when I shot him with Madam X. They hired me to shoot some photographs of him. And, you know, Maxine called me up and said, we got this new singer and, you know, you're going to love him. So I remember putting me on the phone with him. He's like, hey, Mark, how's it going? It's Sebastian, man. I can't wait to work with you. Energetic, you know, kid. And I went down there. We hung out for about a week and really we became friends. And the guest list was already in for the wedding because the wedding was in June. And this is, I think, maybe a few months earlier. And then I just remember telling my secretary to say, why don't you invite that band that I just shot? You know, they're really cool. You know, they'll add a little flavor.
Nice bunch of kids, right?
Yeah, they'll add, you know, they probably won't come because, you know, they didn't have a pot to piss in.
Right.
And, but they came and they drove in their car. They barely made it. They made it, and we had the wedding at the Molly Pitcher, and they all stayed there. And Zach, I just met really a few months earlier too, when he was playing in some club. My friend found him, Face, and brought him to me, and I brought him to Ozzy, and you know, next thing you know, he's in Ozzy's band. I, you know, went out with him for the auditions. That was actually his first audition. And
he was very young when he got into that band, right? He was like, was he 19, 20?
Yeah, 18 or 19. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So then, you know, so that photograph when I had my wedding in June of '87, neither one recorded with the artist. I mean, well, Sebastian didn't even know who Skid Row was, and then John Bon Jovi's parents were at the wedding. The band was on tour with Cinderella. Bon Jovi, and you know, I was friends with the family, and they came, and my friend Dave brought Sebastian over, introduced him to the Bon Jovis, and you know, between my friend Face, who was my best man at the wedding, and John's parents, you know, putting, you know, saying, hey, you're not gonna believe who we saw. He'd be good for Skid Row. But Dave Feld really is the one that kind of like took the cassette, got it to Snake and Sebastian. So he was like the in-between guy. And, you know, they came down, jammed with him at a small little club off Route 35. And they got, you know, first night in, Sebastian got in a fight with the bouncer. And then we went to White Castle and we almost got another fight. So it was the beginning of some fun times, and you know, the success of both of them was amazing. And
and that sort of, you know, volatile combination, that band just blew up, man. Those two Skid Row records. I love the second one, but the two Skid Row records were monsters, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And Kevin, if you see on the right, there's little Steven in there, and
I saw that.
AJ French and Mark Mendoza and and Kevin Dubrow. I remember Sebastian calling up Kevin, and Kevin didn't want to go up and sing, and they started singing "Bang Your Head," and Kevin came up. And when the book came out, I was like, all right, this is a good time to pull out the video footage. And so on the DecadeThatRocked.com YouTube channel, there's like 2 or 3 clips of the jam, you know, and I have about 5 more songs that I'll eventually release, but I had to put a couple up for the first time. I mean, 30 years later, it's up there, and you know,
that's great. So there's a segue there. You mentioned JJ, and you know, incredible, iconic, you know, cover at this point. Can you give us any perspective on this?
I mean, 1984, I was established rock photographer. I was working for Circus. You know, I got some, you know, I got the calls from the publicists when they needed a new photo shoot, and from the record companies. But I really wasn't doing album covers yet.
Right.
I always wanted to, you know, something about album covers is like they're there forever. You know, they don't go away like a magazine goes away in a month.
Sure.
So I really had my eye on that, but it just came to me. I got a call from management, and they had this idea, and they put me in touch with the record company and with Mendoza, who had this idea with the, this room, which is a built room that my father helped me construct. And then we had this bone that we got, at a butcher down the street. And, it was really the beginning and the end of Twisted Sister, because what I found out later on was that photo was almost the cause of an immediate, breakup, because Dee was on the cover. I mean, the original idea was to have the band on the cover, which I did shoot, and it just didn't work out. The vibe wasn't right. The band was like goofing around a lot. And then Dee really didn't give me, Dee didn't really give me his all. And I just met him, but I knew he wasn't giving me the Dee that I used to see him on stage. Mm-hmm. And then after the shoot was over, I went through the motions and I got these, some cool group shots, like good enough for magazines, but, in everyone's opinion, it wasn't good enough for a cover. And then at the end, which was like maybe 12 hours later, 3 a.m, I said, anyone want to do individuals? And everyone said, no, we're gone. See ya. And Dee's like, yeah, I'll stick around for another role. And that is like the last photo on 36 exposures. That's great. That shot. And he just took the bone. Everyone was gone. And he just let loose, and he just started, smacking the bone and making noises, and wow, and he kind of let loose, which is what I wanted him to do earlier in the day. But Dee, I think they had a talk with the other band members saying, like, it's not all about you, Dee. And I think Dee gave respect to the band to do it, and it hindered his performance during the photo shoot. And I didn't know, because it's the first time I'm meeting these guys, and I just made them look cool. But Twisted Sister is not a band that's just supposed to look cool. They're supposed to be like aggressive and heavy and strong. And when Dee was by himself and he had no barriers, he just let himself loose and just kind of, he gave that magic photo, and it became iconic.
I've learned a lot about that band, fairly recently, having, like I said, I moderated JJ's thing. Did you see that We Are Twisted Sister documentary? Did you see that?
Yes. Yeah, that was
really good, man. I really thought it was good. That was great.
And then Reels, there's all these shows now, Breaking the Band and Frontmen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they did one on Breaking the Band, and they actually used an actor to play me during that photo shoot.
Oh, wow.
And then Dee's narrating it, and there's
that's surreal.
There's a, looked like it was at my photo shoot, because they blurred out the background to look like the band. And
wow.
but then there's a guy that's wearing a flannel shirt, and I'm like, you couldn't just wear all black, and wear a bandana or something. Yep. So
that's great. Yes, Dee, that's a great doc. I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed that doc. While we're doing our tour of covers, that we love, this is a band that, interestingly enough, has come up a bunch of times recently on this show, and that's Cinderella. And I gotta say, I love this record. This record kills, man. I mean, I listened to this a lot when it came out. It's just a well-produced, well-done, well-written record.
Yeah, bluesy rock, I always say, And 1985 or 86, it was a sign of the times. That's what you did. Like Ozzy had the hairspray up, Guns N' Roses did. I mean, everyone. That was those 2 years that everyone had the hair at its highest, and everyone went for it. And it's like Dokin Under Lock and Key that I did. It was a time and a period where that's just what you did. That's what the record companies wanted, and the bands went along with it. And it worked at the time. And then, years later, they kind of, cried about, dressing like that. But looking back now, like 30 years, almost 40, it's almost like, all right, that was kind of cool.
Yeah. If I may ask, is this, I'm assuming this isn't a set. This looks like a location.
Yeah, I was in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia.
Right. I was, where else? Right. Cinderella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a very historic landmark. I forget the name of it, but you can go there and you can see it. Now, this was shot during the day.
Right.
And I remember Tom coming up to me, and I did an interview with him a few years back, and got his perspective on it. And he's like, he couldn't understand why I'd be shooting night songs during the day, during sunlight,
Yeah.
And I told him at the time, I said, I shoot day for night. And he didn't know what I meant, but he just kind of went along with it. And what that means is, like, if you use strobe lights and you can light it and put smoke, it has another life. It burns out the available light. So they don't see this effect, they don't see it. They just know that it's like kind of weird, so I had to talk him into like getting into the vibe and, seeming like it was like at night, so, and you have more control during the day.
It's interesting. A lot of our people love that record, man. I mean, I do. Yes, Dominic. Tom Kiefer is very talented and underrated. He's great. I know he hurt his voice singing like that. He's had struggles with his voice through the years, but yeah. And Jeff LaBar, rest in peace. Absolutely. Yes. Gary Sullivan, drummer for Cro-Mags. Yes. Fred Corey. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. One more in that vein, another iconic cover in that vein. I mean, I guess, it sort of from that whole, in that camp, right, would be Slippery When Wet. It seems a little bit different than your usual stuff. What sort of led to this?
Well, before that, it was The Girl with the
right, which I have.
Yeah,
I have that.
So,
yeah,
I was working with Motley Crue, and Doc McGee said, I have this band I'm working with, Bon Jovi. And my first photo shoot was in '85. So that was the original cover. And at that time, the PMRC hearings were going on. Like I went to Washington, D.C. with Dee when he spoke in front of the Senate. So you wouldn't have those labels that are on there now, even though they passed it and it helped sell records.
Is that right? Dola White says the banned cover. That cover was actually banned?
Well, they printed 200,000 copies, and they just threw them in the garbage. It was released in Japan, but in America, they didn't go for it. And at the time, it was a pink border around it. So when John saw it, John saw a Xerox copy of the cover, and it looked like that, but it didn't see the pink border. So at that time, when he saw the pink border, he kind of freaked out. And then at the same time, the record company's like, well, we're thinking about not even using it anyway because of the sexual connotation and the PMRC, and we didn't want to jeopardize, getting it in all these, mainstay supermarkets or, Walmarts or what have you at the time. So we went back to the drawing board, and actually, then before this, we did a bar of soap, which is the first time that is in the book,
right?
And just they hired this model for like $2,000, and then they hired someone to make a bar of soap that says "Slippery When Wet," and I just had some water on it, and I thought it was a ridiculous idea, but I had to go through the motions.
Sure.
So then when we saw it, John was like, "No, this is not right." And I said, "Yeah." And then he goes, "Well, we have like a day to come up with something." And then the next day he just said, "I'm coming up to the studio and just have a black plastic bag there." And I said, "Okay." And so I pinned it up, and he said, "You have a water bottle? Let's spray it down." And I sprayed it, and I didn't know what.
Got to give him credit for coming up with it, right? And solving an issue like that, right? I mean, got to give him credit.
He just wrote it, and he said, "Send that." He didn't even want to wait for the Polaroids. He said, "Send that to the record company. That's it. Done. See ya."
Wow. That's. Listen, I got to balance out. Listen, I want to. Listen, everybody out there. I know the Bon Jovi thing didn't ring everybody's bell, but we're coming on strong now. I love this, man. This is great. We're gonna balance it out, you lunkheads. Here we go. Boom. Come on now. We love this, bro. This is big in our world. This is big in our world.
Right.
I love this record. This is one of the quintessential crossover records. Can you give us a little perspective on this shoot?
It's the first time I met them, and I got hired through the record company, and they flew me in from the East Coast, met the guys, and I asked Mike if, to show me, we took a ride, and I said, show me some things that mean something to you, some locations that, and we scouted. And as soon as I saw this building, I was like, this is where we got to do it. And that was it. It was a real.
One thing I always really loved about this was the light. The light is beautiful. Like I'm assuming,
well, once we had,
end of the day, maybe. I mean,
once we had the location, then I would. The shoot was scheduled for like a couple of days later. I went back the next day to find out when that magic light was going to happen. So it was like a nice golden light. Like, this is the easiest shoot I ever did. It was very simple. And then, no lights, nothing fancy. I don't even think I had an assistant. I just showed up with a camera.
Yeah, this record was big, man, in our world, and yeah, great record, man. Trip to the Brain and all that. Did you ever work with them again, or was this just a one-time only thing with these guys?
No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Great stuff, man. Love that record, man. That's a big one. Here's another. And I read the text on this. This was. I know you have a lot of anecdotes. In the book, and let me just mention to everyone that the book is The Decade That Rocked, and it is an incredible book. Here it is. You could pick it up at. Well, you were telling me that really Amazon is a great place to pick up the book, right?
Well, if you want to, you can get the book, for the price of it, or if you get it from my shop, I throw in a free print, and I sign it, I personalize it to you. So you can either go to Amazon and buy it there for list price, or you can pay a few extra bucks and we throw you some goodies.
That's cool. And the way to get in touch with you is through the Facebook page, or what's the?
Well, yeah. If you want to purchase it, or if you want to know anything about anything, just go thedecadethatrocked.com.
Okay. There's
a shop page. There's all my social medias there. I mean, my Facebook and Instagram. So if you remember thedecadethatrocked.com, you'll be able to find everything about me.
Yes, Larry Kelly says I'm totally going to get this book. Well,
awesome.
And Dominic said, I'll get it. It's great.
It's a big book. It's like,
it's a brick, man.
Yeah.
It's a brick.
It's 6 pounds, and it's got a few gatefolds in it too that come out. And right here. Here's Ozzy in the bunny outfit.
Yeah.
So it's got a Guns N' Roses gatefold, and it's got a Van Halen gatefold.
Awesome. There's so much. Let me see the Van Halen thing. There's so much There's so much great Van Halen in this book.
And
man.
this is the Ozzy outfit that I put on.
Right.
Right
on.
But yeah.
There's so much great Van Halen in the book, man, and Guns N' Roses. So here's a page from the book, and I read your anecdote that went along with it. Very, very interesting about this band. Let me clear the deck here a little. And that would be Danzig. And I guess they came to the studio for a shoot. They were a little surly, right? Yeah, you had to position them around a little bit. And, I guess you could take it from there.
Well, I was just it's the first time I met them, and I just was being myself, really. And I like to kid around. They walked in and they really didn't take direction too much. And so I started going over to each guy and started just molding them a little bit because, I want them to look as good as possible. So I needed them to lean forward. So it seemed like every time I said something, it's like I was almost not even there. And, I was trying to just do my job. And so when I got to Glenn, he's like, don't touch me. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't touch him. And then I, took a few more shots. I said, okay, we're good. And that was it. And then the next day I found out, he goes, when I talked to the art director, he's like, great shots. The band loves him. He goes, but what'd you do to Glenn? He goes, he doesn't want to shoot with you again. I was like, I said, what? And then I told him, and he's like, oh, you shouldn't have touched him. And that was it.
Oh, rock and roll, rock and roll. This was an interesting one that kind of came across the radar screen. Leonard Skinnard,
All right.
Yeah. And a great Leonard Skinner lineup, not the original, but this is when Huey Thompson from the Outlaws was playing guitar and Ricky Medlock. This was I saw this tour. They were great.
Yeah, so this was in like late 90s, and CMC Records was like they were doing albums with like Eddie Money and Styx and REO Speedwagon. They were trying to, pull those and, record. And I started getting involved in videos too. So I was involved in making this video live from Steeltown with Tony Bon Jovi, John's brother. And we did a few things, and it was just fun. So at that point in my career, the 80s thing, the bands that I worked with were kind of like dying out, or not dying out, but they shifted over to the Seattle scene. And those bands, even though I embraced them and still got assignments and tried to work with them. I mean, I shot Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, did photo shoots for the different rock magazines, but they really didn't embrace photographers, and it wasn't essential to them. So I really didn't. There's nothing you could do but look for somewhere where you're appreciated. And these bands from the 70s that I have personal, connection with, because that's the music that I grew up listening to start getting engulfed in their new worlds and, coming out to the scene again it was an honor to work with Eddie Money and Leonard Skinner and Styx and all these bands. So CMC gave me opportunity to get involved with a lot of these bands doing the photos and the videos.
Makes sense. I know we're going back a little bit here, but is this a Circus magazine assignment?
No, this is, if you look closely, they have the Boy Howdy cans.
Yeah, right. That's
Cream. Cream.
Oh, magazine. I'm sorry. Right, Cream.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I always look for ways to, set up photo shoots with bands that I like. And I didn't have an assignment for the Ramones. So I knew they were in New York recording, and I loved the Ramones. And I asked Cream if they'd be interested in doing like a Boy Howdy with them. So they sent me some labels, and I stuck the labels on the cans, and I called their manager up, and we did this shot. And then I did some shots, straight shots too, that were in the book. And that's just it. You take advantage of you can get their time by working with these magazines. So the magazines really opened up a lot of doors. And then after you're in the door, it's up to you to develop your relationship.
Makes sense. I know we talked a little bit about, we talked about Johnny Z. We talked about Johnny Z. Of course, we need to talk about this band a little bit. And I know you have a little bit of a history with them. This is an earlier shot. Is this Metallica looking through your negs?
Yeah. So I was on tour with Ozzy. I mean, every time Ozzy took a band out, you knew they were going to blow up. First it was Motley, and then in '86 they took Metallica out. So I used to go out with Ozzy. Every couple of weeks I would pop in for a few shows. And whoever the opening band was, I would just, develop a relationship. I'd have plenty of time during the day before Ozzy hit the stage, and I would just introduce. So in this case, I just introduced myself as Ozzy's photographer, and they embraced they embraced me, and I told them I'll be coming out. If you give me, do some pictures before the show or after, and if it's cool, I'll bring the pictures, and you guys can look at them and approve them. And that's what I did, and that's how you develop relationships with the bands. Then they start trusting you. Then the pictures that they picked only go in the magazines, and then they, as the weeks go by and years go by, you just develop this relationship.
Here's another one. I assume might even be obviously looks to me like could be the same night or right around there, right?
Yeah, it was the same tour, that same leg.
And this is when Cliff was still in the band, when Cliff was still alive.
Yep. Yeah. And then after he passed, the record company hired me to go to San Francisco to do the new photos with Jason.
Yeah, I have that, and I was looking at this before the show, and I gotta say, I gotta hand it, that shot on the left there, that's Metallica representing San Francisco hard right there. Yeah. I mean, that's the equivalent of like a New York band standing in front of like CBGB's or the Empire State Building. I mean, That's a great shot, man.
Thank you. Yeah. I always like, you got to get them in their element and what means something to them. And, Lars told me, like, let's go up to the bridge.
And is that right up there where you turn the car off? There's like a little park there. You drive, you park there and you can walk out onto the park.
Yeah.
I know that spot. Yeah.
And the clouds were just right. It's like Beautiful. They were peeping in and out, so it's kind of
great stuff, man. And that's when Jason Newsted, here's one more. This is actually a page from the book. We're making our way through a lot of photographs today. This is a page from the book.
Yeah, that was like after, in the bottom right after we joined, and obviously one of the last shoots with Cliff on the top left.
I saw this, and I'm quoting you here. I would go out with Ozzy for a week at a time during his Ultimate Sin tour that year. His opening act was Metallica, who had recently released their third album, Master of Puppets. The record was getting a lot of buzz, and the magazine started requesting shots of the band. So I introduced myself to the guys in Metallica and asked if it would be cool if I shot the shows. I told them I would be on and off the tour, and I would bring them the photos to approve. They liked what they saw, and soon enough, we began doing shoots before and after the shows as well. That September, the band was on a European tour in Stockholm. And that's when the tragedy happened. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and sort of the whole tie in history. Johnny Z, gets him over the East Coast, puts out the first two records, and then Michael Alago from Elektra comes in and basically, buys him out of that contract. They sign with Elektra, and Kurt Hammett says in the film that I did, right away, as soon as they got on Elektra, boom, the Ozzy tour and tour support, and really they were able to transcend to the next level.
Yeah, it was the perfect storm.
Yep. So cool. Let me do my final sponsor shout out, and we'll come back. We'll take some questions from around the world, and we'll talk about Recycle Karma and a couple other things.
Okay.
All right. What's happening, boys and girls, ladies and gents? This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, you offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as T-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and on Instagram. Come on now, Vlad, who's supplying food for the show on Sunday, Organic Grill is a vegan restaurant located in the East Village of New York City at 123 First Avenue, featured in New York Magazine, New York Times, and Veg News. Their dishes have won numerous awards, including Best Veggie Burger. They make their own cheeses, sausages, and burger patties, and every dish on the menu can be made gluten-free. This year, they're celebrating their 21st anniversary, and they're all about having a great time while enjoying amazing, clean food. They have now fully reopened for business and look forward to seeing you. Get in touch with them at www.theorganicgrill.com. I want to mention again, I know I'm preaching to the converted, but that's the fuel that makes this show happen. Please join Patreon or make a contribution on PayPal, Stone4124 AOL. That's what makes this whole thing happen. That's what enables me to do my homework and spend countless hours researching. And I'm a happy, fortunate guy, and I appreciate it. And I really, you got the book, Eddie? Cool. Yeah, by the way, Eddie's talking about the New York Hardcore Chronicles Volume 1, 1980 to 1989. If you're a patron, you got it coming for free. Just pay for the shipping. Drop me a line. Make sure your address is on there. If you're not a patron and you want the book, it's available at www.stonefilmsnyc.com. This is the last of the second printings. They're all signed and numbered. Yeah, hold on. Hold your horses. They're all signed and numbered. You buy it, I sign it. What do you want me to tell you? That said, thanks my patrons. Shows coming up. Ed Culver's Wednesday. Doro Pesch is the 13th. Mike Granari from Madball the 20th. Gallery East. Creature from Rebelmatic. Riggs Ross from Sub-Zero. We got a couple other balls in the air coming down the pike. Coming down the pike. Ever hear that one? It's coming down the pike. Questions. Post some questions for our guest, please. Let's get some questions going for Mark Weiss. I'd like to break some shit. Okay. Amazing book. Well, thank you, man. Any questions for Mark Weiss? Please post up. Don't be shy. Post a couple questions. Let's go. Get them going. Get it popping. Let's go. Let's get it on. Went through a lot of friggin' pictures today, man. Holy mackerel. Let me see what's left here. Let's see what's left. A couple more. Get it going. That said, let me clear the deck. Let's bring our guest back on. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Our guest, Mr. Mark Weissguy Weiss. Hey, man.
Hey.
Let's see. We'll do a couple questions. We'll continue on our way. I know you got to get going soon, so I'll get you out of here soon.
Yeah, no worry. I'm good.
What do you got going on at the? Oh, see, there's my alarm for that I set because you got to get out.
I'm
what
good.
What's at Monmouth Museum? Explain to us.
Monmouth Museum, yeah. So when I did my first, I did an exhibition there when the book got released in June 2020. I just developed this relationship. It was during when COVID just started, and they liked how I worked on my setting everything up and getting involved with the community, and they asked me to be on the board. And we have a meeting, and it was supposed to be at 5, but now it's at 5:30, so I have a little more time.
Good. We'll bounce back and forth a little bit, but okay, here you go from Dominic, one of our great supporters. What advice would you give to a photographer just starting out?
I get asked that a lot, and I just say, if you want to be a photographer, you should be a photographer. If you have that passion, find some bands that you like to hang out with, take photos of, start a page, social media that's not just your name, but like a name, like a brand, brand yourself. And, just try to get photo passes and start your way with smaller bands, and eventually you'll work your way up if your work speaks for itself. And of course, the more followers you get, the more people that are seeing you and appreciate what you do, the more access you'll get. And that's, the ball just starts rolling. You lock in with some guys or girls that appreciate your talents, and they take you with them when they hit it, and off you go.
It's all about analytics these days, isn't it?
I know it is.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I talk to A&R guys who, that's what they look at. What's the band's analytics? They have no presence on social media. They have no analytics. I'm not interested. It's crazy, but that's the world we live in now. I guess, in retrospect, like we talked about, the old infrastructure of of bands, and we've talked about this a couple times, how bands could sell back then. Bands could sell 1 million records and still be broke, right. Because just money went into the recording, money for the producer, money for the music videos, money for the photographer, tour support. I sold 1 million records and I'm broke. Well, at least there was an infrastructure that allowed that to happen, right?
Yeah, and at least everyone remembers you, But
right. You made some great art, right?
Yeah.
This is interesting. It seems like it's in the current and in the present, but what's Mark's favorite New Jersey club to take photos in? Are you still going out, or should that be what was Mark's favorite New Jersey club?
No. I mean, there's not as many shows as there used to be, but
yeah.
I mean, I always like to go out and take photographs. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But the Starland Ballroom is a really cool place I like to go to. It's not too far from my house. And
at Sayreville?
Yeah, I guess it's Sayreville. Yeah,
I think so, right?
In that area.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big room. That's a good room. So I've seen a couple of bands there. Stuart asks, have you had a shoot not work out for you that you were looking forward to or excited about, and how were you able to work around it?
Oh, well, I guess that Danzig story was that, because I was looking forward to it because I knew of, Glenn's history with the Misfits and whatnot. So I was looking forward to that. So that would be the answer to that one for sure.
Hey, Laura Darty says, "Oh, good, Mark. Glad you made it." Okay.
Yeah, Laura used to come to a lot of the shows back in the day. She's a friend of mine, Aerosmith, and she used to tag along and hang out with all the rock stars with me.
God bless. Let me ask you about this photo. I'm not sure who this is with you. I'm tempted to say, is this Don Dokin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in there.
A very young, svelte Don Dokin.
Yeah, and their shiny days.
Yeah. I see that him and George are doing. They play together for a couple songs a set now.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, they played last summer.
Sorry.
They played last summer, and I wanted to reenact this Hit Parader cover I did, where they had like plastic toy guns. With
yes, I remember that. Yeah,
like back to back, and so I got instead of the toy guns, I got like dueling swords. Like they were and we reenacted the shots with that. So that was kind of fun.
You did a lot of work with them back in the day.
Yeah, they were buddies for sure. They were one of the bands that Don used to give me keys to his house, and I used to stay there when I was in LA. And
wow,
we were pretty close.
That's
we
cool.
We still are, actually. We're still. I mean, I'm friends with most everyone I worked with back then. That's what's great about doing what I did back then, because it's like I would go into a photo shoot not knowing the band and coming back out with like 4 or 5 new friends, and as the years went by, it's like I had all these pals I could hang out with.
Let's talk a little bit about your Recycle Karma, and what's Recycle Karma all about?
It's just I had an idea to do a shirt line, and a friend of mine, Greg Alprin, connected me with them, who I do a podcast for called The Decade That Rocked with Greg. And they're basically images from the book that aren't about the band. It's about the image. I have my signature on it. We don't have the name of the band on it. The back has The Decade That Rocked on it, 1980, 1990. And they gave me my little tagline and the whole deal. So yeah, it's exciting. And these shirts are very, they're not cheap shirts. They're very well made, and they're real.
Yeah, they look very like brushed cotton. They look very comfortable.
Yeah, and they're a woman's boutique, but I mean, I wear them. They're nice and comfy. So yeah, so that's where that shirt, for that photo from the shirt, came from.
And that's Steven.
Yes, yeah. Steven just actually posted himself wearing the shirt, playing guitar yesterday, I think, on his Instagram, which is pretty cool.
We're not mad at Steven because in the background lurks Paulina Porvignova, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
There you go. Let me get rid of that. And we have coming up. Yeah. Here's a cool one that you took. Doro Pesch is coming up on the show.
No,
now, was this in the Warlock days?
No, this is their solo.
Okay.
Album. And the record company hired me, and they knew I was kind of getting known for building sets and creating a little bit of fantasy, and Doro was told me her ideas, and she came into my studio and just was like, wow, this is like perfect, and we just had fun, getting the image.
She's great. We're looking forward to having her on the show. Here's a question from our resident graffiti historian. I think you might have addressed this. First live show you ever went to?
My first live show was I mentioned that earlier. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
That was it. First show. Big, yeah. Go big or go home. Right.
Right.
Absolutely. At Roosevelt Stadium.
Right. Yeah, that was an awesome place.
They had a lot of kind of pretty great shows at Roosevelt Stadium.
Yeah.
The band, the Dead. That was like a place for a while,
Yep. Yep. I saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
In their heyday, right? Early 70s.
Yeah.
Yep. Joe Frank says the photographer is almost as important as the producer in that their product carries a ton of weight in your endeavor. Yeah. I swear do you have a favorite pick? That's sort of a
favorite pick?
There can't be one favorite.
Yeah, but I mean, Ozzy in the Bathtub is one of my faves.
Right on.
That was one of my first shoots with him. It was my first shoot with him.
Okay, and I know this is sort of a loaded question because I know you still work with, but can we ask the most crazy person from the 80s?
Oh, who is the most crazy?
Yeah, like most crazy person from the 80s.
Oh, Ozzy. It would be Ozzy for sure.
Oh, no. Yeah, no doubt. Ozzy, right?
Yeah.
I guess you witnessed a lot of people sort of really a little out of control in that era,
Yeah, when I say crazy, I mean crazy with Ozzy in a good way, because he was just
right.
fun and he was just, he had whenever he had a few drinks back then, it would all come out. I mean, he pissed on the Alamo, he ate a bat, a lot of different things. Like the cover that I shot on Circus, where he has the Mickey Mouse ears. He shaved his head the night before, and we painted on him and did, he does crazy stuff.
Was that Speak of the Devil when they did that? That's on that when they were doing those shows.
Yeah, I think that
he played the Ritz. I remember they played the Ritz here in New York.
Yeah, he had a crew cut at that show.
Oh yeah, right. Yep. Yes, Ashley, I love the collection of framed discs. Those would be gold records, my friend. Right? Those would be gold records. I mean, it's nice that you're involved with the band, you take shots, the record. Ooh, there you go. Wow.
There's 3 levels there, and it goes all the way around.
Wow. Is this is a question from me? Is there a band or a bands that you work with and you thought, wow, these guys are dynamite. These guys, they're going to be huge, and they just didn't catch the wind? Was there anybody that sort of, in your opinion, were great and never really got their just desserts for whatever the reason?
I don't remember. I mean, bands like the Bullet Boys and Mike Monroe, and I mean, they had success and they still do, but they never hit the arenas.
Bullet Boys, that first Bullet Boys record that was produced by Ted Templeton, that's a great record, man. That's like Van Halen's Bastard Child record. It's like, you love Van Halen, listen to that first Bullet Boys record, because there's a lot of Van Halen in that record. Great record. And Mike Monroe, yeah, he's great. That said, well, it's almost at the top of the hour. I want to let you go. Want to thank you very much. Is there anybody you want to? Oh, here you go. Wait, I missed this one before. Hey, Mark, have you ever double exposed a roll of film? Any other times where the shots didn't come out from a show?
Well, I did, and sometimes it works, but that all that stuff happens. You don't advance the film and it doubles it up, and sometimes there's like 4 or 5 frames on it, and you just want to forget about that. So everything happens for sure.
We've dealt with every disaster 3 times, The record, the book is A Decade That Rocked. Our guest has been Mark Weissguy Weiss. Anybody you want to shout out on the way out?
Oh, a shout out.
Yeah, it's shout out time, bro.
Wow. Well, I definitely got a shout out to my girlfriend, who we're going to go out to the Monsters of Rock cruise. So a shout out to Larry too, because he's always welcomes me, and I'm looking forward to it. Alice Cooper is going to be the headliner, and Tom Kiefer is going to be performing, and a lot of bands, a lot of my buddies. So looking forward to going out there. I'm going to be bringing some books on board and doing some book signings. So we're going to get ready to hit the road in a few days. Me and Mikkel.
Where does that boat, is that leave Orlando? It
leaves Miami.
It leaves Miami. And Miami does like the Bahamas and then comes back to Miami?
I don't even know where we're going.
Yeah. But we're going to be on the boat with a bunch of old friends. That's awesome.
Yeah. We're going somewhere nice, somewhere hot, and a lot of water.
Yeah. Here, we went through so many great pictures today. I have really one more left, and one last one, and that would be this. And 1987 Ace Frehley, and great. Well. I think Ace played L'Amour's around then. I saw that show at L'Amour's. It was a hell of a show,
Yeah.
Larry Kelly says, thank you, Mark. Great show. Going to get the book.
All right, Larry. Cool. So make sure you get it on the decadethatrock.com/shop, and I'll personalize it to you, and you get that print, So
that's awesome.
Check it out for sure.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. And let's talk soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, and all you out there. Do what you want to do, and you'll be successful. Just, balls to the wall.
Take care, man.
See you.
Bye. Well, there you have it. Our guest today was Mark Weissguy Weiss, photographer extraordinaire. What a great, walk through his career. So much great stuff. I had so many. I think it's the most photos I've ever put up in a show. We just went through tons of photos. His book is incredible. I highly recommend it. Thank you, Mark. Great show. Glad you were able to tune in too. I hope you're okay up there in Canada. I hope the truckers haven't clogged everything up there. Dominic, thanks, man. You're a real chatty Cathy today, Dom. What's going on, Laura? Yeah, it's on it's archived on YouTube if you'd like to go back and watch some of it. Zoller, brother, you coming down to the show on Sunday, Rich? What's going on, B? Hold on, I want to remind everybody. I want to remind everybody that hold on, where is it? This Sunday at the Bowery Electric. There you go. Come on down. Rich Zoller, don't hurt my feelings. Good, you're coming. Don't hurt my feelings, bro. Oh, and you know who made this flyer? This guy. Who shows up as soon as the guy leaves.
I was trying to catch a train.
Oh shit. Yeah. So, did you watch any of the show?
I watched the whole show.
Yeah, it was cool, man.
But I couldn't. I was going between trains to catch my train home. Unfortunately, I couldn't jump on. But, amazing.
What a staggering career that guy's had, man.
And we didn't see anything. Like his archive is ridiculous.
I know, right?
Yeah, that book is so good, and it's funny because the one question I was going to ask him was his feelings on now, like photographers in the age of social media, where you'll find your pictures popping up on other people's pages. You joke about it all the time where
that's
you'll post something.
That's a good question, man. That's a really good question. Yeah.
I mean where you gotta like, oh, hey, wait a second. And his stuff is so recognizable, you know, and I mean, but just a phenomenal show. I knew he was going to be great. And I literally just hid from my workers for the last hour and a half, 2 hours. So it was great. And now we got Ed Carver. This is the 1-2 punch of photographers for me right now.
Yeah, and we got a couple.
So this
others.
is fantastic.
We got a couple others. Big. Yep, Steve's deep in the train yard. Yep.
Yeah, no. Right now I'm just leaving Jamaica now. So, but a great show, and I'm trying to get back in time.
We'll see you in a couple of days.
I'll see you Sunday
at the Bowery Electric.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yep. Camera in hand.
Talk to you then. See ya. All right. The hardcore shutterbug taking the train home. There you go. Yo, Rich Zoller, we got you, bro. Got you. Your family's got you. I know you've had a hard time. I know things have been rough in your family. Come down for some New York hardcore love on Sunday, bro. We got you, man. So that said, great show today, everybody. We will see you a week from today. How about our new sponsor, 126 Hardcore Clothing, out of Berlin via Greece. Pretty cool. I'm back, bro. I'm back. Back in the New York hardcore groove. I'm back in the New York hardcore groove. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. See you in a week. If you're a patron, look for the Billy Bio show just for you on Saturday. All right? All right. Until then. Do good things, and good things will come to you.